Let's watch this astonishing assault on your intelligence.
Thanks for joining us at 6. Several big developments right now in the investigation into the deadly police shooting of a man at an apartment building in South Minneapolis. We've learned the family of 20-year-old Andrew Tekle Sundberg has hired civil rights attorney Ben Crump. We've also obtained a copy of the search warrant in the case. Here's Carla Holt.
One day later, a broken window and burnt candles are all that remains from the scene of an officer-involved shooting, as community leaders continue to have questions.
New search warrants shed more light on what happened leading up to the deadly police shooting of 20-year-old Andrew Tekle Sundberg. According to the documents, the officers responding to Sundberg's apartment building on 21st Avenue South, after getting reports of shots fired, quote, started taking fire. That's when the officers asked for the Minneapolis SWAT team to also respond. 2 snipers set up on the roof of a building across the street, the report said. Then, quote, at some point during the standoff, the 2 snipers, identified as Aaron Pearson and Zachary Seraphine, shot Andrew Sundberg.
He literally lives a few blocks away from where our office is.
Meantime, Jaylani Hussein with the Council on American Islamic Relations says Sundberg may not be Muslim, but he was a neighbor. Today, Hussein has questions.
We know that in this country, 54% of officer-involved shootings involve people who are expressing some form of mental illness. And it's extremely disappointing that we lose a life in this situation.
That while we're learning more about Sundberg's life. A Facebook post says he was involved in a Minneapolis hockey program. A GoFundMe page says he was a brother, friend, uncle, son, and artist. Talented and energetic.
KARE 11 will continue digging into documents and asking questions, and we'll have the very latest information on this developing story on air and online at KARE11.com.
If this was your first introduction to this story, well, hold on to your hat.
Tense moments today as family and supporters gathered outside the apartment where Minneapolis police shot and killed a man Thursday morning. As Kirsten Mitchell reports, demonstrators demanding answers about Tekle Sundberg's death were confronted by a neighbor who shared her own experience that night.
People have been stopping by a memorial outside of the apartment building, and just above a shattered and boarded up window is a reminder of a terrifying night for neighbors.
This is not okay, just go home!
A heated confrontation interrupted the start of a march in honor of Tekle Sundberg.
They tried to kill me in front of my kids!
Arabella Yarborough was Tekle's neighbor. She called 911 Wednesday night after she says bullets flew through her apartment unit.
The shot went through my door to the pillar to the kitchen. I was cooking food for my kids.
A 6-hour-long standoff followed until 2 Minneapolis police snipers shot and killed Sundberg. His parents, Cindy and Mark, spoke out after the tense interaction.
I wish I could wrap my arms around her and tell her I am so sorry. I am so sorry she had to experience that. I am so sorry for her pain.
His family thinks he was going through a mental health crisis at the time.
Tekle is an imperfect human, as we're all imperfect humans, and he did not deserve to be picked off like an animal from a rooftop.
Adopted when he was 4 years old, those who knew Tekle remembered him for his love of art, photography, and his cat.
But this is why we say that mental health needs to be addressed. And this is why we don't need the police showing up for these type of situations.
The family's attorney, Jeff Storms, says they still have little information about what prompted police to shoot. They're also asking for body camera footage to be released to the family first and questioning how police handled the negotiations.
Why wouldn't you let his mom and dad de-escalate the situation with at least a megaphone to show them that they were here?
The one thing I would like to point out is, a group of civilians did just de-escalate the situation. So let's think about what else could have been done to de-escalate the situation on July 14th.
In Minneapolis, Kirsten Mitchell, WCCO 4 News.
In the KARE report, Arabella Yarborough is never mentioned. It's not even clear from the KARE report that it was Tekle doing the shooting. And Jaylani Hussein's only connection to the story is that he was a, quote, neighbor.
He literally lives a few blocks away from where our office is. And
Meantime, Jaylani Hussein with the Council on American Islamic Relations says Sundberg may not be Muslim, but he was a neighbor.
Even though he never met Tekle or could tell you anything about him. It is to be expected that reporters will turn to CARE for help in padding out their reports. But it's also, more than likely, Carla Holt went to Jaylani because he has grandstanded over police shootings in the past.
I do not know what to tell Dante Wright's family other than we have failed you. The city of Brooklyn Center have failed you. The state of Minnesota has failed you. And America has failed you.
it's a sad day for me as a community leader to see that the state that killed George Floyd does not want and is not interested in black lives. We are in a moment of a revolution, and we are not stopping. It's time to stand up. It's time to stand up, and I demand that we all fight for justice by any means necessary.
Whose streets are streets? Say his name. What's his name? Say his name. What's his name? Say his name. What's his name? Say his name. What's his name?
He'd been trained to pull that gun out, and he saw Jacob as a threat. A man who was walking away, a man who was going inside his car with his children inside. What excuse are they going to come up with now? What excuse are they going to come up with now?
And we thought for some reason that Jamar Clark was an anomaly, but he was not. He was a trend that we failed to realize in this state and in this city, in this country. And if we would have done something about Jamar Clark's death, we would have saved Philando Castile, we would have saved George Floyd, but we failed.
The peaceful protesters that have taken over this nation since the killing of George Floyd are not going anywhere. We are not going anywhere.
Yes, sir.
Today, Hussein has questions.
We know that in this country, 54% of officer-involved shootings involve people who are expressing some form of mental illness.
Well, do your own research, of course, but this source puts the upper limit at maybe 50%. The 54% figure is a Jaylani original.
It's extremely disappointing that we lose a life in this situation.
Missing the point by quite a bit. It is fortunate that police were able to prevent Tekle from shooting, killing, paralyzing someone, maybe a child.
On the right or left? I'm in there! I'm in there! Yes! Is he in there? No, he's in there! Hey, kids! Come here, kids! Come here! Come here! Come on! Come on! Come here! Come on! We got kids coming out too! Come on!
All right, hours later, the video shows Sundberg leaning out of his apartment window, and it appears he's talking on the phone, threatening to shoot police and not responding to the sergeants who are asking him to come out safely.
Gone.
And it's deeply wrong and clearly and obviously wrong to post up outside where she and her kids are and be celebrating the guy who was shooting at them, regardless of anything else that happened.
This may be a turning point in getting people to stop supporting Black Lives Matter. And it's going to take a similar amount of energy for the rest of us to get TV stations to stop promoting the Council on American Islamic Relations.
But we failed.